Mish, do you know the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? He lives on Drury Lane.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man. Yes, I know the Muffin Man, he lives on Drury Lane. Yes, I know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man. Yes, I know the Muffin Man, he lives in St. Genevieve.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another Tune Chat. This week we have muffins. But they're not what you think. Or are they?
Well, I have a 200-something-year-old receipt for muffins from Thomas Jefferson's own granddaughter, and they bear no resemblance to the modern-day muffins that us Americans know and love.
Now, they look like English muffins to me.
Well, there's a reason for that. Let me put down my basket of muffins.
Here's some water.
I made 2 types of muffins today, thank you. I made 200-something-year-old muffins, and I made a modern recipe for muffins, my own, thank you. You're free to have it. You can send me $5 in the mail, it's okay. But the difference here is that one has baking powder and one does not have baking powder.
Mm-hmm.
This, my friends, is an American-style muffin.
Looks like a cupcake.
It does, but it has no icing. This, my friends, is a terrible, horrible interpretation of an English muffin, but essentially historical muffins were English muffins because they were a British invention, and so before the invention of baking powder, double-action baking powder was invented in the late 1850s, early 1860s, by a professor from Harvard University. That's double-action baking powder. That's the kind of baking powder that most people bake with today. Mm-hmm. It's called a leavening agent, and leavening agents, that is baking soda, yeast, technically, pearl ash, egg whites, potash, and you have baking powder. It makes a cake go from this to this. It is one of the greatest American food inventions ever, is double-action baking powder, which is what is in these muffins. Now, these kind of muffins are an American invention, and you start seeing recipes for muffins that look like this, like modern muffins, after the American Civil War. So, kind of in the late 1800s, that's when you start seeing recipes for this style of muffin. But before then, they looked like this. It looked like a sad biscuit.
Well, even biscuits, before the double-action baking powder existed, there was single-action baking powder and there was baking soda in the early 1800s. But biscuits weren't that cowboy, fluffy type of biscuit like great-great-grandma made that we think of today.
They looked like this.
They were hard as a rock even before that. And it's unique because this is it's almost like an English biscuit, because English
biscuit? Don't you dare say that.
Well, they call things different over there.
Well,
like,
in England, a biscuit is a cookie.
Right. And over here, a biscuit is a fluffy dough thing.
It's a type of bread.
But it's been baked. This was done on the griddle or in a skillet. But they call chips, or what we call chips, they call crisp. And what we call fries, they call chips. They do things backwards over there, and it confuses me. They drive on the wrong side of the road.
Ron has very interesting theories.
I don't understand it.
Yes,
but I'm ready to try some of these, though.
Okay, which one do you want to try first?
Let's try the old one first.
Go for it. I've already had it. I don't want another one. So, this muffin recipe, or receipts as it used to be called, came from Thomas Jefferson's granddaughter, Septima. And she had her own compilation of written down recipes. And I'm going to read to you the receipt that this came from. It's very vague. It only mentions 3 ingredients, which is water, flour, and yeast. I added salt because I believe it's implied, because how could you seriously eat this without any salt at all in it? And a lot of these receipts are so vague that there's implied information. So anyway, to a quart of flour, put 2 tablespoonfuls of yeast. Mix the flour up with water so thin that the dough will stick to the table. Our cook takes it up and throws it down until it will no longer stick to the table. She puts it to rise until morning. In the morning, she works the dough over, the first thing, and makes it into little cakes like biscuits, and sets them aside until it's time to bake them. You know muffins are baked in a griddle before the fire, hearth of the stove, not inside. They bake very quickly. The second plateful is put on the fire when breakfast is sent in, and they are ready by the time they are eaten. I read that kind of silly, but it's kind of hard to read these these recipes because it's handwritten originally, so some of it is not really legible anymore. You just have to fill in the gaps of it. So if you kind of translate what it's saying, it's basically saying you're going to make a very sticky dough that sticks to the table.
They're like little pillows.
They are like little pillows, and you cook it over a griddle over the fire, and it's just flour, water, and yeast.
I like it.
I think they're okay. And apparently Thomas Jefferson liked them so much, he wrote to his daughter, Martha, in 1802. This is what he said, 1802. Pray, enable yourself to direct us here on how to make muffins in Peter's method. My cook here cannot succeed at all in them, and they are a great luxury to me. So maybe there's a chance in 1802 when he was asking his daughter about what is your recipe for muffins, he was referring to this recipe that his granddaughter also cooked. If they were keeping the recipes in the family, which they probably were.
This would be good with coffee or tea.
I think it'd be good with butter.
Of course it'd be good with butter.
You know, they're really not that bad. I thought it was going to be a brick, but it's not that bad. It's just like a very plain bread.
The yeast definitely did its job. You can see how that springs back up.
Show them.
They're looking at it.
Yep, it's spongy.
Good job.
Thank you.
I will give these a 6 out of 10 just because they're very plain.
Yeah. I would also give them a 6 out of 10. If it was the only bread I had available, I would gladly eat it. They're just very plain, you know? I mean, nowadays we're used to biscuits in this country, not cookies. Over in England, in the United States, we have something called a biscuit, which is a type of bread. But
wait a minute. They call cookies biscuits over there?
yes.
More backwardsness.
We just talked about this in the beginning of the video.
I didn't know that part.
Okay. Yes, they do that.
Wow. Okay.
Now you want to try a modern?
Yes, please. I smell it. I smell cinnamon and brown sugar.
A post-Civil War muffin.
Come here, Mish. Oh, he's all filthy. He's been running around.
Filthy.
Look at this. He's dusty.
Get yourself a muffin, Ron.
I will get myself a muffin. Cabin smells amazing in there. Now we're outside today because it's a little bit hot. It's been nice lately, but the heat has come back for a couple of days, and I think tomorrow's actually gonna be 90.
91.
So we're outside today.
Show them what it looks like. It's like a cake. Modern American style muffins are like a cake.
Tastes like cake.
It tastes like cake.
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's very good. Completely different than that.
Completely different.
Completely different.
Because it's more like a cake, whereas this is more like a bread. You taste the cinnamon?
Yes. 10.
Okay. A 10, thank you. I'm always trying to perfect the art of muffins. I really like blueberry muffins as well. Poor Ron, you can't eat while shoving a muffin down your face. You just can't. It's dense. Now we have a modern day English muffin here. This is a modern day English muffin. They do, for those of you who don't live in the United States, you might think this is a rare specimen here. Not at all. You can literally go to any store that sells bread in the United States and you can buy English muffins.
I see the resemblance.
Yeah. Huh.
These were handmade and those were made in a factory probably.
Oh, definitely. But it's like a very flat biscuit.
You should try it too. Compare them.
Okay. Oh!
That one did sit in the car all night, by the way.
Why? Why would you make me eat this?
I thought it'd be funny. You like it?
Tastes like cardboard. No, I don't like it. Oh my gosh. Oh.
That's gone.
I don't want to swallow it. Why do you make me eat that?
It's that bad.
Yes.
Let me try it. Where'd you put it? Let's see.
Get a bite of the edge, because that's where it's the hardest.
Wow.
Tastes like cardboard. They don't normally taste like cardboard, but it's been sitting out for a while.
That does taste like cardboard.
It tastes like cardboard.
Not I know what cardboard tastes like, but like the smell of cardboard.
Mish Mish is going now to the biscuit.
Good
that
luck,
you
buddy.
threw.
Don't break a tooth.
Right.
That was horrible. I'm sorry for suggesting you.
Are you
gonna
gonna swallow it? Oh! I felt your pain.
Oh, while we're on the subject of muffins, let me talk about the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
Now, Muffin Men were usually the young sons of a baker or an old retired baker who did not have a bakery to stay home and bake at. Bread was regulated, so you couldn't just be anybody and selling this stuff. And they would usually go around with a basket, and they'd have a bell, and ding, 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 and people would get muffins. Or they come by your house, too.
Yeah, so Ron just said that bread was regulated.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Before the days of the FDA and all that, there were still food regulations out there. Bread especially was regulated. They regulated the flour and the ratio of flour to other additives to make sure you weren't ripping people off.
And the price you had to sell. It's like gas. You can't sell it for, a penny or $100. There's a set
price.
Yeah, so the price is regulated as well.
By the government.
Now, the Muffin Man has been around ever since they started making muffins and had bakers in the cities and towns and stuff. And even up until the first half of the 20th century, there was still a Muffin Man in England that was going door to door. A gentleman named Frederick Thomas Linwood was a Muffin Man, and he would lure kids into the alleys around Drury Lane, and he would have a muffin tied on a string and pull the string into the darkness, and the kids would apparently go for the bait, and he'd grab them and he'd kill them. He was a serial killer. But that's just a story. I couldn't even find when the story originated.
That escalated very quickly.
So, but it's not true though. There's no. It's just an urban legend.
A muffin serial killer.
A muffin serial killer. It's just an urban legend. But speaking of urban legends, that brings us to this week's Weird History Fact.
Okay, we'll talk about this week's Weird History Fact, and then I'm going to get into a couple of historic cookware pieces that I've acquired over the last 2 months. So, this week's hardest to swallow muffin. Weirdest history fact, go.
Alright, so this week's Weird History Fact, which is hard to believe it's a fact because I personally don't believe this, but in the area called Old Mines in Missouri, which is a old 18th century, maybe even possibly late 17th century French settlement village area. There's maybe a couple hundred people there today. It's about an hour west of St. Genevieve. They claim that there was a real-life werewolf in the early 20th century. There's a gentleman over there named Zedmore Coleman. He was born in 1863 and he died in 1931. So he lived over in Old Mines, Missouri. They say that when the moon was full, he would grow hair and he would act all crazy. They also said that they had to lock him up numerous times because he got so crazy. And one night they had him locked up, he got loose, and so they went after him to go try to retrieve him, and he was so wild. They called in the priest, had the priest bless a silver bullet, and they shot him.
What in tarnation?
Now, the loup-garou is werewolf in French folklore. So in English folklore, we just call it the werewolf. But in the French folklore, they call it the loup-garou. And in this area of Missouri, and across the river in Illinois, and all the way up into Vincennes, Indiana, and up into Canada, there was French settlements, and they go by the loup-garou. And just about every village had their own account of this. But this being 20th century, and people swearing that this is real, you can find the names of the people that swear by this account that this was real. But anyways, they shot him with the silver bullet that the local priest blessed, and he did not die, but he did get hurt really, really bad from where they shot him. I could not find the year that they shot him, but it said he didn't die. So, but they also said that he never turned into the loup garou again. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't believe in it, but these people swear by it. But then again, when you're in the backwoods, you've had too much moonshine, and you've married your cousin, and you've had no contact with the outside world, you start to see things probably.
No offense to the people
Yes,
who live out
no
in old mines.
No offense, but let me paint this picture for you.
We go there all the time.
But let me paint this picture for you. It's so closed off that in the 1930s still yet, they were teaching French in school. There was no English being taught over there. So that's how separated it was. So when you're in a closed little community like that, you all kind of become schizophrenic about things like that, and you hear stuff in the dark of the night, and
it's like the movie The Village.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we drive through old mines all the time. It's what, 40 minutes from here?
Yeah.
If I can paint the picture for you, old mines, there's nothing there.
I would say the population is not over 500.
It's just
a
woods.
Village. They got a few cabins there for the historic site and a church and an old graveyard, but that's about all it's there. It was known for its lead mining in the 18th century and 19th centuries.
But they do have a Dollar General. Don't worry, this is still the Midwest.
Yes, and so that's what I got for this week's weird history story, possibly fact. I don't believe it, but the locals swear by it.
What do you guys think about this story? You think there might be an ounce of truth? This guy gets hairy when the full moon comes out?
There's people that I've seen them on the TV show in the 90s, like Dr. Phil or whatever, you know, the people that have like gorilla hair. It's a condition. Maybe the guy had a condition. And then
maybe he just, literally all he did was take his shirt off, and it was enough to scare the townspeople, because it turns out he was incredibly hairy. And then he would just put the shirt back on in the next morning, and boom, he wasn't hairy anymore.
Well, you haven't seen it yet, but here's a picture of him. He's holding a fiddle, and he doesn't look too hairy to me, but his eyes are dark, and it looks like somebody I wouldn't want to mess with.
He's not approachable looking.
He's not approachable, yes.
No.
So that's all I got for that.
Totally the type to come out of old mines.
So what do you got to share today with your historic cooking items?
Thank you for that, Ron. Now let's go back into historical cooking. So I collect historic cookware from the 18th to the early 19th century. I try to cut it off at about 1840. And so I just go to auctions, or whenever I go traveling with Ron on road trips, we'll stop by antique malls, antique shops, and I find random things all across the United States. And
it's never ending. It's never ending.
It's never going to end. I have 3 items to share with you guys today that I haven't showed before on the channel. So, number 1. We have tin. We have cast iron, we have steel, but now I have brass.
Brass.
This is, I think, in early 1800s. It could be late 1700s, but that's being that's being way too positive. I think
it looks pretty refined for that.
Well, no, it's not about it being refined. You'd be surprised. Okay, well, anyway, let me explain a little, and then I'll get into it, but some people call this a posnet or a possenet, but then other people call it a skillet. I'm not going to argue what it is, what it's called. I'm just going to call it a cooking pot. That way everyone can be happy. It's made out of brass. It is solid brass. There are no other pieces. The bottom of it is blackened due to being in a fire for a couple hundred years, but it is brass.
I like the long handle it's got and the nice tall legs.
I like that too, and I really do like the legs of this.
Yeah.
I got this thing for under $100.
It's still got some weight to it though.
It does. Not as much as cast iron, but it definitely still has some weight. I guess with brass there isn't a gate mark like you would find with cast iron.
Well, there was something there, and it looks like it's been filed off smoothly, because they didn't have grinders back then, but they did have files.
Yes, true. So, on the arms of these skillet possenet things, usually they had the maker on them, And I'm pretty sure this one was made in England. The ones from America are worth a ton of money, thousands of dollars, like $20,000 if you can get one made in Virginia. I'm serious. But this one was made in England.
Oh, I was gonna say we need to sell that.
It's not as valuable only because that means there's a lot more of them.
Wow.
On the market. The American ones are rare. So on this one it says TPB water. The fifth.
The fifth.
The fifth. There's a V there. The fifth. I looked this up and I found TPB water, I believe the third, up for auction. And it sold for like $200 something, and it was dated to the 18th century.
Okay.
But this one is the fifth.
So probably mid.
It's probably early 1800s.
Early 1800s. Okay.
This style of pot was commonly used through the 1700s, but also through the early 1800s. Very popular in the 1820s. So I think this is probably kind of the 1820s. If you have any more information about the maker, I'd love to hear it. There were so many of these different makers. I mean, hundreds of them. They would all have their names on it, so I can't really find too much information about it.
That's pretty unique to have your name on it. I've actually personally never seen one with the name on the handle, so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
well, that's because this is a regular cast iron pot. This is a passinet. They almost always had...
Passinet.
They almost always had the makers on it. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they had a decorative column-looking thing on, but...
Very nice.
Yep, so that's item number 1. Something we totally do not use anymore. Item number 2. Something we also definitely do not use anymore.
I don't even know what it's called, but it looks dangerous.
It looks very dangerous. I suppose it is. It looks like a torture device.
It does. Oh, it's got a spring on it so you can slide it up and down.
There's a mosquito. I'm sorry.
Well,
she's a little old.
She needs a little love.
Yeah, she needs some lard.
Yeah, it's got a spring there that allows you to go up and down with it. But I still don't know what you do, how you hang the food on there.
So this is called a lark spit, L-A-R-K.
Lark spit.
Lark spit. It's penny-footed, which refers to the type of feet. You see the feet here?
Mm-hmm.
When something has feet that's this shape, it's called penny-footed because it looks like coins. I think this one's iron.
Yeah, that looks like iron.
And it was for roasting small game birds like pigeons or Cornish hens. You would just skewer them onto here. You could get 3 on here, but you could also have put a potato on here, maybe put a game bird up here, and then 2 potatoes here so that the drippings go down.
Oh, nice.
And then you literally just put this on the floor in front of your hearth, and you roast away.
I like that.
It is very strange. I mean, looking at it, we have come so far as cooking tools go, that this is like completely alien to our modern eye. But lark spits used to be super, super, super common. If you go to Google and Google image lark spits, you'll find hundreds of these pictures of lark spits, and most of them do look like this one. The bell shape was very common, very popular, but some lark spits will even be more deluxe. They'll have like a little rack coming off to the side where you could put a little tiny pot on there. Now, how old is this one? This might be one of the oldest cooking tools that I currently own. These were popular for about 100 years, so all throughout the 18th century these were popular. I cannot date this thing exactly because they were making lark spits like this in 1720 and they were making them in 1780. They didn't change much over 100 years.
It's in really good shape.
It is in very good shape. It has a little bit of rust on it, but I can get that sorted. So I can only date it to the 18th century. By the time we get to the 1800s, it's considered old-fashioned.
I can't even picture in my mind how to really... It's cool, don't get me wrong, but is it worth it? Like cooking with it, or could you just cook the birds with the potatoes another way that's easier and not so complicated? So maybe that's why it fell out of favor. It's very cool, but I'd have to see the person back then use it and then be like, okay, you convinced me now.
Right.
But I'm not convinced that this is the best way to cook whatever they're saying is to be cooked on it.
It is pretty light.
But it is cool though. It looks like a weapon.
It looks like a weapon. It's very thin. It's pretty light. You want to feel how light it is?
Yeah.
It's not heavy at all. It's like 2 pounds.
And it just has surface rust. It's not even pitted. So I think it was lightly used and then just put away.
Probably.
There's the feet she was talking about. Around.
Yep, penny-footed.
Yep, pretty cool.
Okay, so we have one more item to talk about.
And it's your favorite one.
It's my favorite item.
Now we have used on the newest video, which if you have not seen yet, please go over to our main channel. That's Early American. Over there we cook everything that we eat on here. And over here we try it and review it and show you the cool things that we cook it with.
That's right.
We got some stuff on it.
Oh, well, we literally did just use this pot. I haven't washed it yet. Now, ignore the actual pot. The pot is from the 1970s.
The lid needed a pot, and that's...
I cannot find a historical pot yet that is this tiny.
I'll show you. It is the size of a CD.
It is the size of a CD.
Yeah.
So it would fit a skillet about this big. Very, very small. All of my other cast iron pots of the time period are at least this bigger. So at the moment, this 1970s Taiwan-made cast iron pot is going to have to be its home. I got a chicky lid. This is an early 1800s chicky lid. I think it's steel, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's just wrought iron steel, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so stereotype.
Just like that over there. The Lart spit.
You think that's steel?
Yeah, it's just wrought iron steel.
Oh, see...
But it's not cast iron.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why it's so light.
Yeah, oh, that makes sense when you put it like that. Okay, so stereotype. Everyone cooked with cast iron back then. Not true.
Just because it's black
doesn't mean it's cast iron.
And just because it's silver doesn't mean it's stainless steel. It's tin or pewter.
It could be tin.
Or silver if you can afford it. But you wouldn't cook with it. It'd just be a silver spoon. But anyways, continue.
Okay, so this is American for sure. In the early 1800s, there was a fad in American folk art with making metal chickens. And we have 2 chicken sconces in our cabin.
They look just like that.
They look just like it. Why? Because it's cute. I don't think there was any other reason. I mean, this is such a cute gift to give to your wife 200 years ago.
It's the same today. Ladies like chicken stuff in their kitchens.
Exactly, we do. We do! I'll admit it. And 200 years ago, we did as well. So the lid was sold separately. I got it at an auction out of Massachusetts. You don't even want to know how much I paid for this.
I don't even want to know.
It's a little scary how much I paid for this, but this is a museum quality piece. Colonial Williamsburg would love to have this, but I beat them to it. And it is just absolutely adorable. It actually has the eye carved out. It's scratched out. It's like a rooster. So I'm slowly building my early 1800s American folk art chicken collection as we speak.
I like it. It's very homey and cute and country.
I agree. I just have to find the perfect pot to fit it.
If you have old things like this and you like history, don't be scared to use them. I mean, obviously don't leave them in the fire to where they're cherry red and then, you know, bend them and stuff like that. But they're made to be used. If they've lasted this long and they're in good shape, use it. Now, if it's falling apart, don't use it. But there's nothing wrong with this. The chicken is solid on there. It just had a little bit of surface rust, so we cleaned it and then oiled it and stuck it in the oven and seasoned it, if you will, and it looks great and it works. It works fine for being 200 and 25 years old.
It's metal, so it'll last forever. It's heavy metal.
Chicken metal or metal chicken.
By the way, you probably you can't see them, but on the other side of the camera there are a bunch of chickens rummaging through the leaves. That's why you hear, and that's why I'm looking at them right now. But yeah, that's been my latest collection gathering of historic cookware, which is an ongoing project. I mean, it'd be cool to one day have maybe the biggest historic cookware collection in the United States. That'll probably happen when I'm 90 years old. But until then, I'm getting like maybe 3 or 4 pieces every year. Yep, and I do take my collection out sometimes to special events in our town. Whenever, like at Jure du Fête, which was a month ago, and I had a display table out, and a couple hundred people came by and they were looking at it. And a guy made an offer for one of my skillets, but I said I'm not selling it.
Well, anyways, guys, that's all we got for this week. Wait a minute. Is next week your birthday? Or is it the week after? All right, hold on. Bear with me 1 moment.
He has a cunning plan.
All right, I'm back.
He back. What are you up to?
All right, you cooked me something for my birthday, and now it's time for me to cook something for your birthday.
September 21st, August 21st.
Except you don't get to pick this time.
Okay.
I'm going to pick.
Okay. How are you
blindly.
Oh. So you're just gonna like open up a random page in this cookbook and cook whatever it says?
Yep. You ready?
Yes, I think so.
There's multiple ones on this page, so where my finger is at, whichever one it lays on is one I'll read. Here I go.
Okay, what you got? What you got?
Okay. Oh no.
What is it?
To make a pie of sweetbreads and oysters.
Oh, are you serious? An oyster pie?
Boil the sweetbreads tender, stew the oysters, season them with pepper, salt, and thicken with cream, butter, the yolks of eggs and flour, and put a puff paste at the bottom and around the sides of a deep dish. Take the oysters up with an egg spoon, lay them in the bottom, and cover them with sweetbreads. Fill the dish with gravy and put paste on top and bake it. This is the most delicate pie that can be made. The sweetbread of veal is the most delicious part, and may be broiled, fried, or dressed in any way that is always good. Mrs. Mary Randolph's Virginia Housewife, 1831. This is a compilation book that Colonial Williamsburg has put together of receipts from the 18th and 19th century. And I just so happened to pick
the worst.
What is sweetbreads? I forget.
Ron, I'm pretty sure that is a type of internal organ.
Should I pick another one? Where am I gonna get oysters at?
Oysters, you can get oysters, but where are we gonna get sweetbread?
Should I pick another one?
You know what? Okay, I'm gonna do something really modern, so bear with me. I'm gonna get my phone and Google what a sweetbread is.
Wasp.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay, if you do that, if we can't do it, then I'll pick another one. Watch out, there's a wasp by your face.
It was 1 inch away from me.
Oh boy.
I'm pretty sure that's referring to internal organs of some sort. Oh, please have
What else we got in here?
Don't lose that one though.
Oh, don't worry, I won't lose it. Barbecued squirrel.
No way.
I just read it.
Are you serious?
Yep, it's on there.
Okay, let me go. Okay, I got my cellular device.
Witches thing.
Sweet bread. Definition.
Breads. One word.
Oh man, it's the pancreas.
Okay, we're not cooking that.
Oh, that's so nasty.
Okay, here goes another one. Here we go. I'm holding my finger on this page because I don't want to pick. All right, I'll just chance it. Here we go. All right, what we got? Thumb is on it. Okay, this is what is it? Venison pastry.
Huh? Venison pastry.
Cut the venison into small pieces. Place them into a saucepan with 1 ounce of butter and brown them well. Then 1 ounce of flour, which should be browned. Stir until perfectly smooth. Add 1 quart of broth, 1 large onion, and bundle of sweet herbs, salt, pepper, a little bit of nutmeg. Place on the stove where it will simmer for 1 hour. Still reading. When done, add 2 teaspoons of walnut ketchup. I've never heard of that one.
Where am I gonna find that?
One half cup of Madeira wine. By this time, the gravy will be thick. Butter a deep dish. Put the stew into it, stirring. First, take out the onion and herbs. Cover it with the top of puff paste. So these are hard to read. It's hard to read these on the fly because all the old S's and the words are spelt weirdly, sounding it out. Make slits on top of the pastry. Serve hot. If preferred, this stew may be served over toast or waffles instead of being baked in a dish as
Waffles?
above directed. This just says it's an old receipt from a Williamsburg cookbook.
Oh,
They
it's
said
not
stove,
dated.
so this tells me this is
It's not dated.
1840 or
So
newer.
instead of chicken and waffles, we have venison and waffles?
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna pick one. How about that? Okay, here's one. This sounds good.
Okay, what you
Yeah,
got?
this sounds good. I like this. I'll even eat this, I think. Scalloped crabs. To 1 pound of well-cleaned crab meat, add a sauce made as follows. Blend 4 tablespoons of flour and butter and add 1 pint of rich milk. Cook over a slow fire, stirring it constantly until thick. Remove it. Add 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. A few dashes of pepper sauce, which is what we made. It's hot sauce, basically.
Yeah, it's like hot sauce.
1/3 cup of dried sherry, which is a wine. Beat 2 egg yolks. Mix lightly with crab meat and place in a buttered scallop.
Boy, this sounds modern. This sounds pretty amazing. When is the recipe from?
I'm almost there.
Hmm.
Sprinkle with crumbs, dot with butter, and bake in a moderate oven until light brown. Serve with small thin slice of lemon on each. This is 1830.
From a book, does it reference?
It just says Williamsburg recipe circa 1830.
Okay, I wish it did a better job of citing this,
Yeah.
but that sounds really, really good.
Okay, well, that's what I'm making.
Okay, that's... Did you just lose it?
I know what it's called.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would love that. Stuffed crab shells with lemon.
You're getting the seafood. You guys are gonna get a show, and I'm gonna try it. So it's still good. It'd be good.
Boy, that first one was horrific. Pancreas?
I'm not eating that.
A pancreas and oyster pie?
No thanks.
Now, it's my birthday, okay? So I get to say
We don't even know where
whether
to
I
buy
wanna
that,
eat it.
though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't even know where to buy that. Where you just go to the store and buy pancreas?
Well, I guess we gotta butcher a cow.
I will look like a serial killer if I walk into a butcher store and say, "You have any pancreas?"
Are you okay with the oyster?
Oh, yeah.
Scallop crab? Okay.
Oh yeah, I am. That
All
sounds
right.
really good.
This will
So-
be fun. I
yeah.
can hold my own in the kitchen. You know this.
You can. So I don't think it's next week. I think it's the week after, right?
What's the date today?
10th.
Let's see. No, because the next time they see us, it'll be like 3 days before your birthday.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so that's gonna be next week's video. Is we're making stuffed crab shells. That's gonna be good.
I hope.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. We love you. We'll see you next week on the seafood
Special.
edition. Special. Yes.
Take care, guys. We love you. Until next week. Ta-ta.
Bye bye.
Ta-ta.